And hey guys, this is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching, doing a coaching session with Ben, who's been kind enough to share his journey, his learning journey with everyone, which has been great. This is how you get a hold of me if you like a 5-day pass to the room. Ben, how do people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can find me at Red Ben Trader on Twitter. That's the easiest way to find me.
Okay, very cool. So today we first of all, Ben, update us. How are you doing in your trading? What's been the best improvement? What do we need to improve upon the most?
So I had a really good week. Last week was good too. I've gotten real steady, having like 150 to $250 winning days on a regular basis, and I'm keeping the loss days really small. I think the biggest challenge is like sizing appropriately with these qualifiers, the combines, the apex combines, just being able to size appropriately and determine whether or not I want to push the trade or if I just want to take a little bit out of it, um, yeah, one at a time. Whether or not that'll take too long or what my strategy should be there. We talked about it last time, and that getting that trailing drawdown, um, getting the profits in on that one, and then not letting it come back on me has really helped. And then I'm also looking at a static drawdown, and that one has been doing well also. So both of them are growing. It's just the size is small, so it feels a little slow, but it's steady. So that's what I'm trying to focus on.
Okay, very good. So today I want to focus both whether you're doing a qualifying account or whether you're your own account. I think the advantage to that Apex trading is the ability to stack accounts together and trade smaller size is a really huge edge. Um, so let's talk about a couple things. First thing I want to talk about is, I've been coaching for a while now and I've been trading for a long time. And what I'm finding is the more people I see that are just trading the long side of the trade, even through bear markets, are doing better than those who are trying to trade both sides of the market. And I think the reason for that is you just automatically assume if the market goes up, you're going to get an opportunity for the market to come down. And that is true sometimes, right? But not the majority of the time. And so, what I'd like you to do, not today, but I want you to go through and start tracking your winning trades versus losing trades and tell me what that looks like on your long side versus short side. I want to know of your worst down days, which ones are worse. Because for me, my worst days are always on the short side, never on the long side, and there's good reason for it, right? So let's go to a really high time frame and take a look at this chart really quick. So this is an 80 tick with the algo on it. And so when you pull this in like over, okay, so notice the difference when we rotate down. Okay, so yes, it does make an initial impulse move, right? And it does make an ending impulse move. But notice for the majority of the time how, see, even within this move, it kind of goes up, down, up. These are big moves. These are 80 point bar moves over multiple days, right? Up, down, right? And yes, we do get moves that kind of drop us straight in one direction, but that likelihood of that happening is more on the upside. Let me show you why. Look how long you can get prolonged. Look at the length of the prolonged move up. Look at the length of the prolonged move up, right? You got all the way over here before you got even a small counter rotation, and then it continued, right? Now, if you try to grab that same trade, so if you're trying to ride the long, your opportunity to catch the edge, like we caught this edge over here. This is where we were long this morning, right? And look at that up move. That was all day today, right? With very little to no rotation. The little rotation it had was almost untradeable, right? So that almost never happens when we're rolling down. So now go back to where we were bearish. This is off an 80 tick, right? And try to find those same extensions to the downside, right? So I'll grant you, yes, we still get these slaughterhouse moves sometimes, particularly off the open to the downside. But look at the rest of the day in terms of rotation up and down, rotation up and down. If you try to stick a move to the downside, it almost never just keeps going down. Even over here, if you said, well, I was bearish here, right? Look at the size of the counter rotation you have to go through to get over here, right? So see that? Now look at the other, look right over here. Again, this isn't a down market. This is just a couple of weeks ago, right? So even over here, right, you go, okay, I'm bearish, right? The market did move from point A to point B, right? But look at the size of these are on NQ, these are multi 100 point moves on this size chart, right? Multi 100 point moves. And then when you lock it in, look where it goes. Now, again, if you're bearish, look at the counter rotation. So, what I'm trying to get across to you is if you focus on the long side of this, putting all our tools together, right? Two things are going to happen for you. I'm not telling people they should not short. I love to short. I love to short, right? You're going to stop taking a lot of unnecessary stops when it gets hung up on you like this. So this PA, so now I'm going to take it to a little bit smaller time frame, right? So this is off of a 40 tick. So when we imagine a short, right? When we imagine a short, we imagine a market doing this, right? But the reality is on the downside, this happens very often, right? And see how you can get a short setup over here, and then it'll hook you up one more time, and then it'll hook you up one more time, and then it hooks you up one last time before finally giving it all up, right? So I know you've been there because I've been there where I just tag stop, 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 stop. And then when it finally goes, I'm like, I'm out of gas. I can't keep trying to short this anymore.
Absolutely.
That makes that makes perfect sense to you, right? And wow, it looks like we're trading.
Yeah.
I just want to look real quick. It looks like we popped after hours. Is that correct?
Yeah, we had Amazon up 10%, and now it's Apple. Is
Apple's coming out right now. Wow. Well, I'm so glad. I'm so glad I'm not. I'm not. I'm not short this. Wow. I looked at my chart and I'm like, we are 140 points up off the close. And wowee! So I'm glad I'm not the person trying to short that. That's great. So when you look, so now look at the other side of the same formula, but using a 40 tick, right? So I want to show you. There's a very clear distinction going on here, right? Okay. See how on the top we get rotations, but I'm going to circle this for you so you see it. But you get this constant back up thing, right? Like, see this? That's a high odds entry short. See how it comes up one more time, stops you out, then it goes, then it comes back, and then it jets all the way past it, and it does that same process again, and you can't get the extension down. Then it sets up short again, but look how many times it comes up against you. Now, look at the opposite side. Now I'm going to go to a down market to demonstrate this, right? Actually, I want to go back further. Bar period. Oh, I see what I did. Excuse me. I meant to be on a 40 tick, but 80 days back. It'll take just a second to load. And while we're waiting for this, what a cool conversation to be having. That hey, I'm not trying to turn it around or get to profitability, but we're really discussing consistency and how to improve that consistency, as opposed to how do I get consistent, right?
Oh, definitely, no question.
What's been the key to that for you? What's been the key? Can you talk about the key that's been, instead of me telling you what I think the key is? Why don't you tell me
Yeah.
what has been the key for you?
Oh no, I'm totally aware of what it is. It's a matter of having a clear process that uh, I have like accountability for following. So I know what the trades are supposed to look like, and I every day after finishing, I'm reviewing my trades and seeing which ones were valid setups and which ones weren't valid setups, and then I'm even going back and saying what valid setups did I miss, right? And because I have the algo and your help and everybody in the room looking at the same screen, basically, I'm able to stay like in the zone, and I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and it's a lot. It's I guess it's almost like a more professional way to trade, rather than just uh, putting bets out there and see what's going to happen. I have metrics I want to achieve, and I have like, objectives for each session I'm trading, and I know not just with P&L, but also with how many trades I'm taking, what type of trades I'm taking, what type of transaction I'm taking. All that stuff tells me whether or not I'm on process or not. And I know through doing this for a year that if I'm on process, I will usually make money.
Okay. Well, I think that sounds fantastic. So this really kind of demonstrates. So you can't get any more down a day than you've got right here, right? Like that's about as down as it gets. Okay. And if you'll look, so this is off of a 40 range. So I want to show you two things. When you're short, what our brains see, let me tell you what our brains see. Our brains see this right here. Like, look at that apocalyptic move to the downside, right? And believe me, I know this because it took me a long time to forget to remember for myself. But let me tell you what's difficult about this. Okay, imagine you think this move's going to happen here, right? You think, oh, this looks great. It's going to have a big move to the downside, right? So, number one thing you'll notice as you're trying to get short, so notice in a short time frame, see this right in here? Notice how many times it retraces, takes out swings before finally rolling. Then you think you finally got the roll, right? Let's say your target's down here. Comes all the way comes all the way back. Comes all the way back yet again, right? You're trying to get this roll to the downside and you get this constant quick counter rotation back up. See that chop up there on the top? Now look at the difference, and this is on a 40 range bar, so we're not trading that 40 range, but we're watching it per se, seeing trigger in. Now look at the longs in here, not even on process necessarily. Just look at the quality of the apex. Notice how it tends to V, right? Does it come back on you? It does. But what it doesn't do very often is this little chop mode that does right here that just kills traders. Like imagine that's a big bar. Imagine on a tinier bar where it's just chop, 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 chop. Then you think you've got the break, and they come take it one more time. Then you think you got the break this time, one more time, and then on the turn it doesn't even give you a signal. It just drops it like a rock, right? So I
It
love
doesn't make sense for anything.
right, but and as you know, I love shorting. But look, these are actually really good. That's an apex trap right there. That's
Yep.
on NQ. That's a 50-point extension. That's another apex track. And look how many times it just lifts in a straight line on the long side. Now, we can get into areas where it's difficult, right? This is a valid trade. This is a valid trade. You're struggling through here. There's no question, but we can usually read in a down market that we're looking for some things that are just more specific. But look when you finally get the turn. First thing you'll notice on these is they don't chop around at the bottom. They either come up and they straight away stop you or they go, right?
Sure.
So when you're taking out that apex, look how few times the swing actually comes back and takes you out before making a new high swing. Like it's almost half the rate of the shorts, right? And let's discuss what the reason is for that for just a second, right? Even if you were long in here, and again, I'm showing in a very hard down market, where you go, well, this actually wasn't a setup on a 40. Let's see if we can get a better setup here. This is a setup here, right? That on the 40, right? You're still extending in a pretty straight line to the upside there before it fails. And this is another setup. Like each of those moves are 40, 50 points. But see how it's not setting and then immediately coming back down and taking another stop. It can, but it's pretty rare. Usually we're going to extend to the other side of the range, right? I want to show you on ES, I mean, on the other side of that trade, right? When you're back over here shorting up near the high, see how many times without any extension it'll come right back on you without getting any significant rotation down to the other side. That's the difference between the longs and the shorts. And let me tell you what the reason is, right? So I'm going to go back to today. If you look at the end of the day today, so this is where we were long in the room, was right here this morning. That specifically right there, that's where we caught the long and we got the long in ES, right? So look at the mechanics of the market, right? So people like to talk about odds all the time in trading, right? And they want to be on the side that's the easier side and the favorable side, right? So let's start in the easy neighborhood, mutual funds. Almost mutual funds dominate the financial industry, the investment industry, and there's almost no short mutual funds. And the long funds that do exist have a mandate to be long like 99% of the time, right? Like they have to be long. So they not only do they have to be long, but they have a mandate to generate minimum tax resolves. So they are very slow to sell their positions, right? Number two, they have a constant influx of cash that they're putting to work. So every time the market's down, what are they doing? They're buying, right? Next, as you go through that list, right? What's a fund manager's number one anxiety in the whole wide world?
What is it?
Underperformance, right? They don't want to
Oh, of course.
underperform the index ever, right? They never want to underperform the index. So what they're doing is they will always be forced to buy in as the market's going up. They will always be forced to buy in as the market's going up. Now, take the other
Wow.
side. Now flip the other side of the equation, right? Flip the other side of the equation. How many fund managers have a mandate to be short 100%?
Very
Zero.
few.
None. I don't think there's a single fund in the world that's
None. Yeah. Maybe
requires
one.
them to be. Now they may have a short strategy, but there's nothing that requires them to be short, right? There's not a fund in the world that must be short or must sell, right?
Sure. Yeah, it's usually long short. So yeah, you're right.
Right. So number two, what's the number two issue? In order to sell, right? Why are people hesitant to sell their equities? The fund managers,
They don't.
professionals.
Yeah, they don't want to. They don't want to miss out on the tax advantages, right? And they also don't want to miss out on the gains.
Right. Not only that, they don't want to sell out and then have to come right back in on the market, right? And they know that they have
Exactly. Yeah.
influx coming,
Right.
right? So you're never going to get anyone dogpiling that short, or very rarely dogpiling to the sell side. I'm not saying people don't sell. They do get in positions where they have to sell because they get redemptions and things like that. That's a very slow burn, right? And even if they're in that situation, right? Like even now, the so what I'm trying to get you to do is go, hey, look, when these things break out like this morning, so if we get down to our very small deal here. So remember what I said about this morning was that if I got this set up, I was not going to scale. And I lied because I thought I did pretty good. I got 26 points. And I'm going to show you on ES, but it's the same trade on NQ here. Okay, and I want to show you also the same high quality setup and how it didn't get traction on the downside today, but the exact same setup long launched. Okay, so we're going to go right over here. And what was I looking for? At the end of the consolidation, right? So very often, these green bars tell us when we get a point of control over a point of control, right? So often you'll look and you'll see at the edge that traps a buyer. And you'll get the same thing over here at the edge. You'll trap a seller, right? The difference being is that sometimes this produces this monstrous roll to the downside, right? But not always. Let me show you what I mean. Up at the top of the channel, look at all the attempted continuations they got, and they actually made it work.
Sure.
And if you look further up the road, you'll actually see one somewhere up here. Maybe it was an NQ, not an ES. But these guys just absolutely did not trap themselves, right? Now,
Right. Maybe. Yeah.
I would normally look for this and go, oh, if we get underneath these guys, they are toast, right? So look at the difference, exact same setup. And like I said, once we clear that, I told you and I said this morning in the room, do not scale that thing, let it run, right? And that's so that what I'm trying to convince you of, Ben, is if you'll put more effort into looking at what the turn looks like at the low, you will catch many, 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 many more of these, and the mistake will be exiting too early versus trying to turn and get short. And it's very common for people, and I pointed that out, right? We get to the top of the channel, and you can see people try to turn that back down right there. It was actually a good setup for a short, right? And we did not get burnt on that in any way, shape, or form, right? We could completely let that go. I want that same thing for
That's
you.
because we discussed it. You coached us to ignore that as long as there's a trap seller, and that made sense.
100%. And if you look over here yesterday, um, where were we? That this had the same pattern. I think it was over here. I couldn't get this to pop. So I'm going to go back to Wednesday, as you know, Tuesday, where I was trying to get this lift out of the market, right? And again, what did I point to that was indicating trap seller? So this is a place where it didn't immediately go. They just kind of hung it up. But again, look at when you're having all the, so look at your short. This isn't a down market. Look how before it gives any kind of meaningful, like large extension, all the way back, all the way back. So yes, did it go down? It did, but hard to hold that for a bigger stretch, right? Now look at your.
Extremely high.
So now let's look at our high odds setups. First of all, see the little blue dot at the low and outside. So this radar, right, tells us when we know we're oversold. So if you look at all these bars, and it's really rare to get these blue dots to show up, meaning the POC under POC at the low, right? And then, so there's two setups, right? What are the two setups off of this? Can you tell me?
Yeah, sure. You can either wait and see if you can get a triangle, and then going up, and then you could take the next retest. That's the one that
You
I
can take the
prefer.
back. That's one. You can take the backside
The
test right
backside
there.
test.
I
Yeah.
agree. But what's better than
So,
that?
would that be taking it out on a like trapping it, getting below it, and then coming back with
Right there.
another elbow, for instance?
That was the beginning of a 200 point ES rally right there.
Yeah.
And if you look at the same trade on, and again, see how many times you get this floating thing where you're trying to make your shorts. Like even look here. Let's say you thought, oh, we're really going to go down. Short signal, stop. Short signal, stop. Short signal, stop. It's like no wonder that people run out of gas. That by the time they get up there, they're like, I got nothing left, right? Even worse,
Oh
it
yeah.
actually didn't trigger. It actually didn't trigger short, right? So you're like, you're exhausted. So what I'm
Totally. And then when it comes back to the low, then you have to somehow switch your brain over to being long again. And I can't tell you how many times I've tried to do that dance and like basically like stop, 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 miss the big move, and then stop again when it goes in the direction I thought I wanted to go initially. Like that's how tilt starts basically.
I agree 100%. And what's happened is you also like this is a really good setup right here. See how you got the again. So look at each push down at the low, backside test, backside test. But if you spent all your energy shorting over here, you're not even going to recognize the blue dots that are showing up to the downside and the opportunity they represent for a big extension up, right? I want to show that same area on NQ, that same Tuesday afternoon trade. So this is that same late Tuesday afternoon. So we're going to look before we got the lift off the numbers, right? So again, what are we looking for? So this was a little bit different. On the 24, it didn't give the you'll still see that it responded off the blue PLC at the low, but we really want that at the bottom, like we want it down here, right? But look at your trades. So again, I'm going to point out. Let's say you thought it was bearish. Look at how many times it comes back on you on the apex, right? So let's go through the actual signals or the trade setup. So this would have worked because it was trap star in the trap. That would have worked for a short over here, right? And you got a good extension. But if you look back to the If you look back to the right, just in general, I want to show you how unclean the apexes are on the short side. Now look on the long side of the trade. So our long didn't set up over here, unfortunately. Right, we were close, just no cigar. And now when you look over here, so 3 bar star combo right there, and that gives a rotation. If you want to measure it exactly, that's 82 up to 110. This is 30 points or $600 a contract, right? No trade over here. No trade here yet, right? And then you come down and you take out the star again, purple bar star taking out. That's a very high odds trade. That was the low. This is right on the close. But again, you have to take that 50-point extension. I can tell you, I tried to take this. This was impossible to catch, and so was this over here. I wanted this. I think they gave me this entry right here. It was too fast, and this was too fast. It was all just. I actually was sitting there trying to grab it. I couldn't get it. It was just firing so quickly. But that launched a huge move. Now every once in a while you get the short to set up cleanly at the edge, and it goes. So now the next thing I want you to do, right? Let's go back a little bit further. This is a little bit more, advanced stuff.
Being able to filter out even just a few of the kind of like sloppy shorts would turn a lot of my break-even days into green days. There's no question. Just looking back at my
Right. Yeah, and I think that's true for most.
results.
I think that's true for most traders. So I want to go back. Let's just go back to the beginning of the month, right? So, two things that I want you to be aware of on the setups, right? When I get this POC over POC, that's a great long. I'm hunting that long all day long. You see, got it at 836. You'll see that it launched beautifully to the upside, and this is a great example. See how clean that move was? Look at the exact same setup over here, and how you had to take the stop, come back in, and then even then you couldn't extend all the way to the end before it gives you another high odds long to the upside, and that's almost a month ago, right? So it's not that the shorts don't work; they get hung up much, 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 much more, whereas the longs just fire for you, right? And even the um, through the course of the day, right? If you look at where your high odds traps, like, oh, this is what I want to show. You get a POC over POC as highlighted by the green dot there. And again, I'll have that algo distributed to everyone by the end of the week. Look at the size of the stretch there. That's a 50-point NQ move, right? It's 1,000. That represents $1,000 a contract, right? If you come back over and you look for your next setup, this is your next long. Again, that long in a down market represents 30 points on that stretch, right? And then as we're coming down over here, now I will tell you that I would have gotten. So this is where a bad stretch would come in, right here at 927. And if we couldn't tell, sellers were in complete control. I would not have. I doubt. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. But let's call this a stop, right? Let's call this a stop, and let's call this a stop. Let's say I just was a machine and I kept taking my trades and I couldn't read anything else. I couldn't tell that we were just sweeping to the downside, right? When I come in over here, I'll show you. What have I just done when I get over here? So the pain here is that this doesn't set up. So we have for someone who's watching in the room, right? If we took 2 stops back to back in just a few minutes, we would hit the pause button anyways, right?
I was just going to say that. I don't think I would have taken that triangle down. So.
We wouldn't, but if someone's watching the session with you, they're going to go like, well, look at all those algos that fired, and why didn't you take those trades? But we're really good in the room of identifying where the better opportunities are. We know the locations on the charts. We're really not flying blind, But if you look at this, right, so I would not have taken this. I got to tell you, I would have missed that move right there. But I'll tell you what I would have gotten.
As soon as it came back,
stopped it out, and then it's set up with a high-grade algo. So when I see this is exactly where I'm going to go. Guys, y'all can scale if you want. I'm not scaling till I get a big stretch on this. Right now, look at once the market's turned and it's not just dinging straight down on the channel, right? And you wait
Mhm.
up to the top channel, down to the bottom of the channel, then go, right?
Yeah.
Look at those high grade quality setups and look at the size. These are 100-point stretches. I don't know if you can see that, but that's $2,000 a
Oh yeah.
contract, $2,000 a contract, right?
And that first one retested. I mean, that one. Even if it didn't set up a second time, that retest is viable.
I I totally I totally agree with you. And again, this is a situation where here I'd get stopped here, but I'm going to come. That's a trap right back in. I'm going to be
Yep.
triangle down, POC over POC. That's moving right to the other side of the channel. Like you really just can't get better than that when you're falling down. There's our first long signal right there. That's our
Yeah.
first on process long. And I bet, I want to say, so this is going to go to another alert, right? If I see this,
There you go.
what
Yep.
am I,
Absolutely. There's the retest.
right? What am I going to say on that? You can scale if you want. I'm not scaling. Why? Because I am looking for that monster move all the way to the other side of the range, right? And this again, this is 11,440 up to 11,489, $1,000 a contract, right? When you're coming in over here, so this isn't a setup, but that certainly is right there again off that fourth rail, right? So I want you, so I'm trying to gently nudge you to thinking I would like you to go to a ratio of 2 longs to every 1 short you take.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say to you because I think your P&L
Okay.
will explode to the upside. I think your losses, like you just said, will dip significantly,
Yeah.
and you want the down moves to give you your longs, right? And then I also think you can be done by really your time, 9 o'clock, frankly, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Are you an hour behind me or
Yeah.
2 hours behind me?
I'm 2 hours behind you.
You can be done by 10, 10:30. You can trade the afternoon if you want, but when it's just slow and grinding like this afternoon, like that stop this afternoon so personifies why I'm trying to move really the entire room towards a long oriented room, right? That one little
Yeah.
stop, it could have been recovered, but those little dings, little dings, little dings, just they wear you down emotionally, even if they don't
Exactly.
ultimately harm your account, right? So, so that's where I want the focus for you to be. So
Okay.
I want to let you ask any questions that you have. In our next session, we're going to start to focus on the wave. And if you put this together, right, let me show you right over here. If you're getting long in here, right, do you want to know the difference between the lift over here, the lift on this side? So let's cover it really quick. Why did this lift clear and this one have trouble? Can you see that? What's the? Let me spread it out for you so you can see it clearly.
Sure. Yeah. Let's take a look. So, did we break a collar bar first? Yeah. Right. Did we break the collar bar? That looks like that's the
On
difference.
this, that is the difference. Over here, you got this
Okay.
power bar to the downside. You got someone try really hard. That's a good short algo, right? They try to push to the
Yep.
downside. And you see once they cleared them. Over here, they never gave you that setup. Now, it doesn't preclude that we couldn't have gone up like that there. Excuse me a second, Ben. Man, when I'm yawning, even on coffee, brother, yeah. So I guess I'm getting old. What can I say? So,
Oh.
look, let me have my double shot and take a nap, right? So,
Right. Right. Well, but you do get up real early to have some alone time at the charts, though.
yeah, I start at 4. I start at 4, so it's been 12
Yeah.
hours now,
Yeah.
but still, that's
Oh.
it's a long day. Yeah. So, so this is why I want you so focused on this, and it's really because of the opportunities of these rips that take place so cleanly. And what that'll allow us to do is, if I can get you to do this, we can start to stack the trades. In addition, like, so it didn't set up here, but picture getting your first stretch over here, or
Okay.
even from here, getting your stretch over here,
Okay.
getting your original win, and then being able to stack up that trade again over here, and then getting it to
Yeah.
stack up again over here so that you end up with essentially a position and a half for free on that rip to the upside. That's where you really explode those accounts. um,
Sure.
in a
And then you
significant way.
basically paid for the risk early on, right?
Right. And the other thing that it'll free you up to do is on days when we're trending up, when this channel's moving up like this, and you get the high odds entries, purple bar, POC, purple bar, star.
Yeah.
These trades are you're gonna see those in the channel, and you'll be able to capture those for the additional moves. Which, by the way, if you look at today, at the end of the day, by the way, forget the after hours, party.
Okay.
Like just come look over here when we took a short in the afternoon that I wish I had not taken, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's set up on the 24. I don't think we had enough rotation. Actually, it did because it was very slow delayed. See how we got purple bar, parallel, star. See that when you get them parallel in a line like that, that's still as if they were side by side for that rip.
Yeah.
And then it didn't set up over here. It just didn't. But this is where we took our stop was right here, right?
Yeah.
And this just doesn't happen. I'd say this happens at triple the rate on the short side than it does on the long side. That
I
would
think
be,
you're right. I think you're right.
yeah,
Especially when you have that power bar to the left there.
yeah.
Like, if that's on the other side, you don't usually get yet another flush.
I agree with you. So I'm not against shorts. I am not. I'm against running out of energy so that you don't have the power or the ability to grab these trades to the upside. You know,
Okay.
and that's what I'm against. And anywhere you look over the last couple of weeks, so let's just go pick a random day. Here, we'll pick this
Sure.
Thursday here. Okay, let's go. Let's just pick the Friday. Okay, so you already see the impulse move up over here. This is still like no one's trading it, at least in the room. A couple European guys, but not many. So here's your 830. So first of all, what's the first benefit? If you're not shorting, you didn't get smoked on this, right? So here's a good question. Did this set up over here? All right, so let's go look. So the first thing I see at 2 in the morning is purple bar POC, high odds setup, right?
Absolutely.
And then you see there's your apex. Apex stopped out, closed back in with a star, 7 a.m. Mega high odds trade, right? And just if you're new watching this, all our focus on our longs happen here or lower. We are not interested in the longs up here. Someone else can specialize in that, right? And that's where Ben, I'm telling you, that's where the opportunity goes. And if you look even later in the day over here, okay, so look at the roll down. You say, well, I missed the short off the top. Okay, well, I agree, but you also missed a bunch of stops. Now let's go take our short pattern. There's your first setup long. That lets you squeeze out. Took you to the other side of the trade, right? Triangle down, purple bar. Triangle down, purple bar. Stuff not back into an apex, but I don't know if I would have taken that. I would have taken this, but I wouldn't have taken that.
I
Um,
agree.
it did get you, but now look over here where you get. They did it in a 3-bar combo. I think because we were just so volatile there, but just stay with the trade to the long side, right? So here comes your first long out of the fourth channel, right? POC over POC, green bar. There's your push, right? Purple bar at the fourth channel, POC above. And what are we really hoping for if we take these longs? What are we really hoping for on this bar and this bar? What are we really truly hoping for on that?
We want to break a power bar and then.
We really would have liked those two trade, either this trade, this bar, or this bar to get stopped out and closed back in because we know.
Right. I mean, for the highest odds entry, yeah.
Right, because then we know, hey, we can really skyrocket that. And then look on the other side of this. Again, this isn't a bear market, right? This is back in 624. Look at the pain you did not experience on the short side, right? Like it's just amazing that I have to convince people and myself to do this, right? It really is just incredible. And so then you can look at this example here. Well, what about here? And let's say we did trade at 8:30. What does this look like? So yes, we would have missed the whole rundown, but we would have missed the whole rundown anyways. It was at 8:30 in the morning, right? Here's your first entry. That would have popped you in if you traded 8:30. I don't. No entry here. But look at what we got on the edge. What is that?
Oh yeah, there's the traps. Blue dot.
POC back up. See ya. That's the launch,
Yeah.
right? Here's your, that's next entry, all of those. Again, wouldn't have taken those in favor of getting down, but those are the algos firing to the long side. What is this right here?
Let's see. Yeah, there's another one.
Without looking, that is a very high odds long. Now, we don't know whether that failed or not, but I can already tell you, if I took that trade, I would not scale that trade. Okay, at least I'll get to the top. So let's see what happens. Let's see if I get my rear kicked. I get my rear kicked up right there. That's all right. No problem. I'm all right getting my rear kicked on some of these trades, right? So, but if you look, number one, so my first question is, if I'm doing this, what did the trade pay, right? If I went long right there, it went 75 to 90. So that's still $300 a contract, right? In a highly volatile market. Here comes our next trade, right? Exact same setup or close to the exact same setup, right? This one pays you 39 to 75. No setup here, right? And if you held this long, right, you're still pumping P&L, right? And again, you're not getting rolled. See how that's a high odds setup, and you avoided that stop. What is this?
There it is again. Same thing.
Mega, and this one, right? This one's worth 100 points, at least. Let's see, 45 to 150. That's $2,000 a contract. So you're done in the first hour. If you get that and you put on 2 contracts, that's 4K, right? That changes your whole world, Ben. And what I want your followers to understand, right? The people in your room, these aren't reprinting once they print, right? They're not like stochastics or MACD where it's like, oh, it's crossed and then it's uncrossed, that whole deal. Once that's done, you know? And I think it's really important to recognize that how valuable that is, you know?
It is valuable because then you can go back and you can review it and it hasn't changed.
Right. And then what's the other part? You're not sitting there going, oh, is it still a valid signal or does it unwind itself, right? The ability to, right. And not only that, but your stop doesn't fluctuate. What's your stop on a 24 tick bar every time?
It's every time it's like 14 points. It's whatever it is at the bottom, just below that what's it called, below.
Right. I mean, the bar fluctuates slightly bar to bar, but it's 14 to 16 points, right? We could just use the extreme and just say, hey, it's 16 points every time, right? So now do you see why I'm trying to get you to move to I'd like your ratio to be 2 to 1 on your shorts, 2 to 1 longs.
I think that I'll be more profitable.
I'd agree. And even if you look at, like, let's just go pick another day randomly, right? I try, when I go do my homework, like let's look here. Let's say we're trading at 4 in the morning. Let's go look and see, right? Let's go see where this bombs us out, right? Let's just go see where it's a bad day. So first of all, I'd have been looking long in here. We don't get a signal on the 24. Maybe on the 20 we don't. It actually set up quite nicely short, but that's a different story, right? So here's our first good long right here. I'm long there. That's an A+ setup right there. Triangle down, purple bar, POC over POC with a little green dot. That's beautiful, right?
Yep.
Sends you right over. What's the next thing we want to see happen on that?
Get it taken out to the like below it, and then come right back with the elbow perfectly.
Right. So this is good. So see how that stopped it out. Now I'll tell you where I'd have a problem right there. It would have gone all the way to the other side of the channel, and if I could have made the mistake of not scaling there, right? Because I don't trade that time frame, so it wouldn't have happened to me. But you know what I'm talking about, right?
True.
Right. And then when you get over here at 8:30, right? Look how you get purple bar star very clearly. That's the low. But more importantly, do you see in that sequence something that's even more important there?
Let's see, the green dot gets taken out.
Yeah, and it gets closed back in with 1 bar right there. And so now what am I going to say again, even though it's burnt me earlier in the day?
Don't scale.
I'm not going to scale the trade, right? Okay. and I'm going to get paid monstrously, right? Because I'm going to end up
Yeah,
with a
it's going to
long.
take some practice to drill that into my head, but I see that it works. It's just like anything else, learning to like adjust anything else in the system. Like you get so good at doing something a certain way, and
Right.
then you discover that there's a more optimal decision, and so you just have to tweak it, and it takes some time to really solidify that that's the right thing to do. Once it's there, I will be
Absolutely. And then look where we run into trouble. Where does it fail? Right. So first of all, we don't take it off the third rail, but on the fourth rail, that's a fail,
right.
and that's a fail. What's the time? Notice the time.
It
And what do we know about that 10 minutes before the top of every hour? It is
The client knows
shenanigans.
he shouldn't trade. Ben is still learning to not trade that quickly.
how much? How much have you decided? How much decided you're gonna give to other traders in that time frame? Because that's what you're doing. You're donating your capital to someone else. And look, I want to show you something. Look, as soon as it clears out, look, you get past 9 o'clock. You just collect another 50 points. I don't know. I don't know what more you would want. Like
Yeah,
your day
yeah,
is literally over. You just made 130 points on two contracts, Ben. That's what is that? That's $3,000 a contract. You trade two contracts. That's 6K. What else? What are you
right,
doing, man?
right, right.
I'm serious because I write the same thing to myself in my journal, right? Why am I? And you know what I want more than anything else? Come back and take that thing out, please. Come back over and stop this guy out. For every 10 times you
Right.
do it, 3 times you're going to burn me. Now watch. Here it is. There's the stop out. What have I say, what am I going to say again? Whether it hurts me or not. Now I might have scaled that one because that's actually a pretty fast lift, right? But if you look at
So
this,
technically, we should be at least holding on to most of it because it could absolutely
look what it did again. It
yes.
it's 9:06 a.m. It's 9:06 a.m. and you're at like 250 points at this point. You know,
Right.
you are living
Yep.
literally the Vegas lifestyle at this point.
And that's yeah, yeah. No, you're right. And I mean that the key really, if you look at all that, the key is avoid getting tricked into shorting right when that explodes if it sets up, and then don't mess around with PA that we don't trust, like what we see at the end of every
Right.
hour.
And what's the
That
easiest?
those little adjustments could be the difference, like a $300 day and a $3,000 day.
Right. And this goes with
Crazy.
EES or NQ as well. Let me tell you, this is not like a trick, right? It works the same
Right.
way. The trick is all in your head, right? Because some people, myself included, right? That's an A plus setup right there, right? But what am I worried
Yep.
about as soon as I short this? What are you worried about the minute you short and it extends for you?
If if it's yeah, like I'm thinking like it's going too slow. Maybe I should take some off.
I'm always thinking it's going to come back and snap right back
It,
on me,
exactly. Yeah.
you know? So I the reason I wanted you to do a coaching session today, what I want you to take away from this, what I want you to go and do your homework, please go find all the variants on this setup.
Okay.
Right, that's a brand new algo. I'm going to have that sent out to you tonight. Actually, I'll have it done. Right, go find
Great.
all the variants on it. Right, and please tell me that you'll make an effort to focus on the long side of that. I'm fine if you want to take shorts. Shorts are fun. I'm not. Uh, I like shorts, but they're harder work than the
Right.
longs are. And
I see that for sure.
yeah, and then you'll also notice the other quality of the big punch here. What was the difference between this trade and this trade and this trade? What's the difference?
The one on the right, you got underneath the power bar before you took off.
Yeah,
That's
this
the
one
biggest
this
difference.
one just short squeezed right before 9 o'clock, so it kind of sort of did, but it
Yeah.
didn't get an orthodox. See how it didn't get an orthodox close above, and then you
Oh
couldn't get an
yeah.
orthodox close on this one. But now, guess what? You got an orthodox close above, and you're going to go for a ride on that thing, right? You're going to go for a ride on that thing before it comes back for you. Look at that.
Yeah, those power bars, like once you learn how to read them and like the importance of them,
Yep.
like I can now look at the algo and just find the power bars, and I I barely have to look back at my candlestick chart. I just need to know where are my power bars,
Yes.
and that tells me enough of whether or not I should be just scalping, if I should be trading at all because they're too close together, if this is a pivot, right? Like, there's a lot of information you can get just from that one signal.
I utterly and totally agree. So that's what I wanted to get across to you. You'll have this new layout with the latest algo out. Again, we're not removing any algos. We're just adding this new algo in. And all it does, you already have it. Just makes it easier to see, right?
I understand.
And I'll be distributing that starting tonight. I should be able to get it done. So
Awesome. Awesome. Look forward to it.
if anyone wants to ask for a 5-day pass to the room, trade and perform at gmail.com. Ben, if you want me to help you with or do one of those, what do you call those? Discords? If you like me to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
me on a
There's
disc,
like Discords, there's YouTube lives.
if you want to have me on a Discord one night and answering people's questions, if you can get a group of people together and they want to ask questions, I'm more than open to doing that for your followers. And
Let's do it.
how do they get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you? Besides at
Yeah,
Red
go
Ben
to
Trader.
at Red Ben Trader on Twitter. If you go into my profile, you'll see the links to my YouTube site and the Discord. A bunch of info in there, just a lot of knowledgeable traders who are all kind of learning together. And yeah, if you guys want to let me know, for those of you watching this, let me know when who would be interested in doing like a question and answer session with Simon, and we'll set it up and give you some notice. But if anyone has any input about like what time you'd like it to be and stuff like that, if you're really interested, you don't want to miss it, just DM me and we'll make it happen.
I think that sounds really cool. Okay, man, I'll have this over to you in a couple minutes. Again, thank you for sharing this with everybody. Thank you for your efforts to being open to learning and being a great trader. And I really think in 6 months to a year from now, you're going to be a very dangerous man. Very
Yeah,
dangerous.
I've got more confidence now than I've ever had training, and that's it's thanks to to your coaching and and like the mentorship in the room, that just the system that I like finally embraced. It really is just like anything else. You just have to have commitment to learning it and be willing to spend the time. I really do believe that if you have that and you're willing to put the work in, anybody really can learn it. It's hard work. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you want to learn it, it it's the easiest way I've learned. That's for sure. I've tried a lot of different systems, a lot of different ways to trade, and this is the first time I'm actually finding consistent results. So.
I think that's kick ass. Hey, Ben, have a great night. I'm going to go and tackle my two little 6 year olds, my two little 6 year olds. 6, absolutely. And they notified me that they are now in charge and that I will be, there's a new boss in town. I will be following their rules apparently. So, and that they're not little anymore and they know what they're doing. So I'm employed by a new boss now. So, and
going to school just a couple weeks.
absolutely. Look, have a great night. I will talk to you later. I'll have this over to you here just shortly.
See you soon.
Have a great night, Ben. Thank you, sir.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.